Georgie's responsibilities after George Sir E's death were already highlighted by The Big Bang Theory. But Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, Episode 2, finally begins to justify Georgie's grudge against Sheldon in TBBT by showing in detail what happened. The stress Georgie undergoes in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, Episode 2 surprises him to the point of refuting the doctor's suggestion that it was anxiety affecting him, with his mind immediately going to a cardiac event because of George Sir E's death in young Sheldon. The episode thus reveals how bad things were for Georgie in the aftermath of George Sir E's death. Happening suddenly, George Sir E's death shocked all members of the Cooper family. Young Sheldon Season 7, Episodes 13 and 14, went into detail about how it affected the various family members differently, with Sheldon playing over and over in his mind his last moments with his father and Missy and Mary feeling anger differently. However, Georgie's reaction seemed focused on taking over the mantle of head of the family from George Sir, promising to watch over the Coopers at the funeral. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, Episode 2, shows how that promise affects Georgie, beginning to introduce a TBBT storyline. The Big Bang Theory Season 11 introduced Georgie Cooper via a major fight with Sheldon that risked upending his and Amy's wedding because Mary threatened she wouldn't have been at the ceremony had Georgie not been in attendance. Georgie and Sheldon's fight in The Big Bang Theory Season 11, Episode 23 perfectly established their peculiar dynamic as it would be seen in young Sheldon, showing the two brothers on opposite sides of an argument. However, the episode also introduced a major grievance Georgie had with Sheldon, with Sheldon not inviting Georgie to his wedding unequivocally highlighted. Before Georgie's appearance in The Big Bang Theory Season 11, Sheldon often described him as a bully. Hearing Georgie's side nonetheless showed how that wasn't exactly the case, as Georgie protected Sheldon in the aftermath of their father's death, not letting him see how shattered Mary or Missy were by the loss. Sheldon not inviting Georgie to his wedding showed how he still couldn't see past what directly involved him, which was the crux of Georgie and Sheldon's argument, as Sheldon couldn't overcome Georgie's past actions, but also didn't know about how Georgie protected him after George Sir E's death. Georgie and Sheldon's fight eventually let the two brothers patch things up before Sheldon and Amy's TBBT wedding, because, as adults, Georgie was finally able to come clean about what truly happened to the Coopers after Sheldon moved to Caltech, and Sheldon appreciated how Georgie protected him. However, Georgie and Sheldon's fight in The Big Bang Theory Season 11, Episode 23, only revealed the basics of the Coopers' difficult situation in Medford, not focusing on how it heavily affected Georgie. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, Episode 2, begins to do just that. The perfect recipe for Georgie to succumb to stress was already highlighted by Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, Episode 2's beginning. In the heartwarming moment, Georgie is talking to his father at George's headstone. Indeed, Georgie highlights how everything is fine, but the episode slowly reveals how that isn't the case. Between being overwhelmed from taking care of Missy enough to forget Jim's auto repair shop's keys at the door and being called to pick her up because of Missy's suspension, what Georgie confesses to George Sir E's headstone is slowly proved wrong. This is made even worse by Mandy's news. Mandy's idea to apply to any job, no matter the location, so that her career could resume, let Georgie feel as if the rug was being pulled out from under his feet. Not only he couldn't rely on his usually impeccable ability at work or his family feeling okay, but now Mandy's ideas threatened to potentially force him to move away from Medford. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, Episode 2, showing the effects of all this stress on Georgie, proves how unmanageable things felt to him, painting a much starker picture than The Big Bang Theory Season 11 ever did, While Sheldon always described Georgie as a loser in The Big Bang Theory Season 11, the many Dr. Tire shops that Leonard and Sheldon encountered around Dallas revealed how that wasn't the case. Georgie's entrepreneurial success 24 years after Georgie and Mandy's first marriage's events is made all the more impressive by how dire the situation was right after young Sheldon Cooper's tragedy. Indeed, with Mary focused solely on her life within the church, Georgie not only had to think about his new family with Mandy, but also take care of Missy, and do so during her rebellious phase. This would have already been difficult with Mary's help, but her absence made it almost impossible. That Georgie was able to set up a successful, expanding business as a young entrepreneur while also taking care of the Coopers and Cece and Mandy makes the story that Georgie and Mandy's first marriage can potentially tell even more intriguing.